So, what was the investor sentiment when you pivoted, or was there any change in your investor database?
The investors did stay with us. The biggest change, my building partner had worked with some of the larger institutional groups that were buying bulks of old homes, but they were getting tired of the maintenance and repairs. So he kind of brought in that part. The individual investors I had worked with, and we had a large network of individual investors that had done well. They were like me, a little skeptical at first, but then once the results started to set in, they were totally sold.
I'm your host, Vinki Loomba. I'm a real estate investor and a fund manager. And today I have a very special guest, Jim Shields, with me. Jim is a real estate investor and partner at Southern Impressions Homes, specializing in build to rent strategies in high growth markets. He's also the co founder of 18 Summers and a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, helping entrepreneurs create financial freedom without sacrificing family.
Hi, Vinky. Great to be here.
Likewise, I'm super excited to hear your story and your experience in BTR, like we are talking earlier before the recording. So, today our topic is the freedom formula, built to rent strategies for time, wealth, and money. We all know passive income through real estate is one of the most powerful ways to build lasting wealth and reclaim your time. BTR has, or built to rent actually, has emerged as a high growth strategy offering consistent cash flow, long term stability, and scalable opportunity for investors. So, in this episode, we'll explore smart strategies to create passive income and while staying fully present where it truly matters, right? Our family, friends, travel, whatever you like to do. So, let's dig into today's topic. And I'm going to start with the like real basics or the beginning. What drew you to build to rent model, and how did it become a key part of your freedom formula?
Yeah, we started in build to rent about a decade ago by mistake, before the term build to rent was even a known thing. I went into real estate investing 25 years ago, and that was a great decision. But I got to tell you, doing the old fixer uppers made me money, but it bankrupted my time. And I didn't
Mhm.
want that with family and friends. And about a decade ago, it's when my now building partner came to me and said, "Hey, why don't we both been doing bulk foreclosures, buying them, fixing them up, owning them for ourselves, working with other investors." And he came to me and said, "Well, why don't we build new construction instead of finding these old houses?" It was getting pretty, competitive, and it just, the numbers weren't working as well anymore. And I thought it was a terrible idea. New construction. I'm a rehabber. That's what I've only known for the last 15 years. But sure enough, the new construction was a slow tester phase that showed scalability, better results, and just stronger fundamentals overall.
So, how was the experience being a rehabber like, and what skill sets did you bring into your this new build to rent gig?
Well, when you're rehabbing houses, you start with something existing and you can get it done very quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn that if you're looking for that same timeline or speed, that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you're buying land, and we own over 5,000 lots now, so we've really invested in our land banking. You
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have lots that are ready to go and can be built on. Sometimes you have pieces of land which sound very exciting, but that
Mm-hmm.
can take 2, 3 years to get it approved and developed. So,
Yes.
on an old house, you can fix it up sometimes in 90 days and be done. The build cycle is a lot longer for the new construction. So what I brought was a ability to work with investors and understand numbers. Now the numbers didn't change. You're buying an asset that's going to, have the goal of better cash flow and equity growth. We just went from old fixer uppers to new construction. So that translated well in looking at the fundamentals, the returns. but it was definitely a longer, slower learning curve to get into new construction compared to rehab.
Oh yeah, you're right about that, but are you syndicating these deals
We are
or
not syndicating. No,
you're just
we
doing
only
it
work.
100% here? Mhm.
We're not syndicating any deals. We work directly with individual investors and institution groups. So we provide ownership. So I know you just had my friend Gino Barbaro on recently. Him and I live in the same town, good friends, and he's the one who actually helped me design our saying because it's very similar to his, and that's build right, finance right, manage right. That's what we do for people. We build the right new construction. We have our own in-house financing that's beating the banks by about 3%, and we have our own management set up in all markets that we build.
Hmm. So what was your investor sentiment, when you said you have the investors, you work with the investors, even though you're not syndicating. So when you moved or pivoted from your being a rehabber into build to rent kind of scenario, because the model changed, now you have to get the land, you hold it longer, and then you do not see the returns day one, versus when you're rehabbing the property, you might see the returns, 3 months, 6 months down the road. So what was the investor sentiment when you pivoted, or was there any change in your investor database?
The investors did stay with us. The biggest change, my building partner had worked with some of the larger institutional groups that were buying bulks of old homes, but they were getting tired of the maintenance and repairs. So he kind of brought in that part. The individual investors I had worked with, and we had a large network of individual investors that had done well. They were like me, a little skeptical at first, but then once the results started to set in, they were totally sold. One of the biggest things, Vinki, I think for us was the price point. You're starting at a higher price point on the new construction. But if my book, if people say, what's one lesson you could go back and do 25 years back, what would you tell that younger self? And what I would tell them is own less of better quality. And all of my investor network now would agree with that. Where for our type of properties, you don't have to own as many to get the results. I mean, I've seen that personally. And that's something key where, the original sentiment was get me the cheapest house in the okay neighborhood. And we're saying, no, we're now building in better neighborhoods. It's going to have a higher price point, and the fundamentals just are way better if you just have a little patience.
That's true. And then less stress, right? Quality always better than the quantity, basically. And then also I wanted to ask you one thing, because I know there's a lot of hype about multifamily investing. There's a lot of multifamily operators. Why did you choose build to rent, and how is different than the multifamily?
Multifamily, and we build some 15 plexes and such, some whole communities, but our focus was on the smaller investor and the institutional groups wanting the lower density. Going through, for example, the pandemic 5 years ago, we all know the word low density, that saying got pretty popular. People wanted to be spread out. So I've had friends, like I said, Gino, do great on the apartment syndication, but we were filling a niche in the market where a lot of larger groups were willing to pay for us to build these single family homes, these duplexes that most national home builders, they had no interest in building workforce housing. They like to build larger homes at better prices where there's better spreads, better profit margins. We're a low margin builder. We'll build volume to make up for that. And most builders have no interest in that. So for us, we thought it was a great void in the market that we could fill.
Nice. So there is always, buyers for each kind of product that you're trying to sell, which is good that you found your niche. So let me ask you this. You talk about all the time, not all the time, I read in your bio that you talk about buying your time back. So how exactly this dream of BTR supported you or is supporting you to achieve that?
When I used to do the rehabs, I had a much smaller team and company that I owned, and there just seemed to be more headaches, more setbacks, more unknowns. There's always surprises with rehabs. The type of homes we were working with, we called it the 3-year curse. It didn't matter what I did, Vinki, new roof, heating, cooling, plumbing, update kitchens, bath, electric. In 3 years, I just knew my budget numbers were going up. It just happened. And with the new construction, we didn't see that happen. We actually saw, there wasn't this 3-year curse. The tenants weren't staying an average of 13 months. They were staying an average of 3 years. All these things kind of played into effect.
Interesting. So, what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about BTR that they're hesitant to invest sometimes? Because I have one BTR investment myself. And I know sometimes when you say BTR, they feel like, okay, it's not a multifamily, it's a different asset class, even though we have multiple tenants too, depending upon how many units you're building. So, what is that misconception, or have you encountered anything like that?
Oh yeah, the build to rent is a very fancy Wall Street Journal saying for new construction turnkey rentals. It really is. And you can
Mhm.
put them into anything. Yeah, for some of the institutions, we're building larger 15 plexes that are, 60 to 120 units. But what we saw was Main Street investors, Vinky, the individual investors like you and I, that we're on a shorting housing, a housing shortage right now, and
Mhm.
we could fill that gap. And with BTR, a lot of people think that, okay, if you're buying a BTR, build to rent property, you're buying let's say a single family home in a fully tenant neighborhood, right?
Mhm.
It's 250 houses, all of them tenant occupied. And there are ones like that. We build them for the institutions. As
Mhm.
an old school investor, though, I don't like that. I was always taught by my original mentor 26 years ago, hey, go to an affordable area where there's cash flow, not the lowest end, but close to the median. And you want to
Mhm.
find an established neighborhood that is a mixture of homeowners and renters, not all investor owned, that mixture of homeowners and renters. For BTR, we build, new construction homes in already existing neighborhoods a lot. It's called infill lots. That's been really popular and made our clients a lot of money over, especially over the last 5 years, since the giant jump. And this gives them a safety score because they're not buying in an area where it's all rentals. That can be a little tricky to resell. And we're always looking at the total package of the investment strategy. Well, what's your exit strategy? Can you sell? We know in our neighborhoods, the ones we build, whether it's a single family or a duplex, well, we have in most of those a great group of homeowners and renters. And so
Mhm.
that's the biggest misconception. Even some of the ones, like I told you, Vinky, there was one, it was 1,000 lots here in West Jacksonville, old golf course. Well,
Mhm.
we sold about 800 of the lots once they were finished to national home builders, and we kept about 200 of the lots to build BTR properties. So here's all of these, nice single family homes, that were built for the nationals. And then we put in that neighborhood, that development, our BTR homes as rentals. And so that's what I think. And a lot of investors or even realtors like on the West Coast have said, oh, I don't want to own a BTR because I don't want to be in an all investor owned neighborhood. And I say, well, then no problem. I think you have a misunderstanding about BTR.
Oh, thank you so much for explaining that. So I'm going to ask you here, I'm really interested, like you have highlighted few things like the area is important, and then you're buying it on the land, you say infill, that's the word that you use, where you have the homeowners as well as the rental. So it's not just like the apartment buildings only. So like BTRs, like really, really beautiful homes, with the front yard, backyard, like more spacious than the apartment itself. So can you walk me through like one typical BTR acquisition for conception to completion? How does that work, basically?
So let's say for an individual investor, there is no pre-construction period. There is no, you need to go out and get a construction loan and we'll build it for you. It's all
Mm-hmm.
done on our dime, Vinky. So
Mm-hmm.
right now we're on what's called a continual build cycle. So if say you say, hey, Jim, I love Florida. I want to come here. I like your Palm Coast market. I'm about a half hour from our Palm Coast market right now. And I like the duplex model. Well, what we do at that time is we are COing, meaning certificate of occupancy. Every day we're COing, 1 to 2 properties a day on average.
Mm-hmm.
So you're stepping into a home that's already done. A lot of the times now we even had tenant occupied already done. And you're just basically reviewing the numbers with one of our property counselors, making sure you like what you see, you agree with the returns, and then you have to get qualified with our lender. 98% of people are using our in-house financing because right
Mm-hmm.
now we're buying down the rates to, again, like I said, right now, most of our clients are locking in between 3.75 and 4.25 with our, and that's long-term financing. That's a 30-year fixed, 30-year AM, or a 30-year AM, 10-year fixed. But again, For our process, you're not going through a long wait period of getting it built. We always have standing inventory ready. Some of it tenant occupied. It's just depending, what do you want? Do you want a single family? Do you want a duplex? Do you want a quad? Do you want a mixture of those? Can you qualify for our financing? And those are really your only choices that you have to make in order to start to build your portfolio. We've tried to take a lot of the risk off the investor, because what happened with a lot of builders is they were saying, well, buy a lot and then hire us to build. And now they're buying a lot. They don't know how to get into the pricing of a lot. The builders, there's been a lot of issues with builders falling behind and things waiting for years. We take all that risk off the table. The properties are done. You can pick from a fully done property, fully warranted property. And that's how you move forward, with us financing it, with us managing it.
And how big are these projects?
Well, you know, what we do is, like, for example, if you're going to buy a quad, so our quads, if you're going to buy a 4-unit building quad, those are normally anywhere between 10 buildings to 20 buildings in a community. And so that's how it works. With our others, it's just like I said, Vinki, we're always buying up lots in areas where there's existing primary owner single family homes. And in those areas, we get permission to build a nice new single family home or a duplex. And so we will go into a certain area, like I was just saying, Palm Coast, one of my favorite markets. I was just down there the other day with a group of investors. And we'll buy up all the infill lots in these existing neighborhoods within a few square miles. So that'll end up being a few hundred lots. And then we'll just put our properties in there. So it's not really, we do developments. I mean, we've done developments up to 300 houses in a development. Again, that's more for an institutional buyer. And then we'll build in larger communities where, let's say it's, again, Panther Creek was, ended up being 800 properties. And then plus we built about 150 to 170 of our own build to rents. So we'll go into a bigger community, but we like to kind of stagger our single family homes and duplexes to have ownership near them. The quads are always going to be in an all investor owned neighborhood, but we have an HOA for each one of them that is necessary to keep it, safe, secure, and viable. But we try to really spread things out for the best results and to delineate risk with our model for the single family and duplexes.
Interesting. So according to your model, I'm asking this question from investor perspective. So you work with multiple investors. So they come in and they purchase that, right? Quads from you, for example. So they are operating themselves. So you just like playing the builder role, or do you do some kind of operational work?
No,
building
we
it?
build right, we finance right, and we manage right. So we were in management before we were in building. So that's actually how I met my partner. I had a large portfolio of fixer-upper homes, and he took it over from me. I'd hired and fired 4 property managers in Jacksonville. Went to him, did a better job than I was, and I don't like managing my own properties, Vinki. Let me tell you, it's just not my favorite part of the game. They did a better job. And so we had management set up, and that's how we then got into the construction. And so one of the most important things I think we offer is we don't only build properties, we're there to manage them. And it's very interesting when you have your management arm talking to your PM arm, and you learn a lot over 10 years. What's the best model, the most durable, that, the least likely to break? And when you get a warranty, I don't know about you sometimes when I did new construction in my ancient past, well, yeah, it's great to have a warranty, but what if you can't find the builder? That's not very comforting. So with both of them working together, our new construction arm and our PM arm, our property management, your warranty goes right from the building department to the PM department. So we know right there, is it under warranty? It's not a search for the builder. They're on opposite sides of the building.
Oh, interesting. So, okay, let me ask. I'm just wanting to understand this model again. So you say investors buy that, but then you say you're managing too. So you're managing for the investors who are investing in?
Yes, we manage.
Yeah,
we manage for them, and we actually right now our program is we will give our in-house financing, which I told you what the rates were at,
right.
3.75 to 4.25, and we offer 2 years of free property management.
Is it like they're like the co-owners with you?
No. So you're purchasing a property, Vinki. We are just there to facilitate everything for you. You're buying a property. You're not part of a syndication. You're not part of a fund. And let me tell you, like funds and syndications can be great. I invest in them, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate. They're great until they're not, because when they're not, you have no control. You really have no say, and you have to take what you can get. Now, the good part of a fund and syndication, they can work great. You can be completely silent. You get a nice check every month, right? And a nice payout. But you got to look at both sides. With owning your own property, yeah, you will have some involvement, right? You are now a property owner.
Owner.
However, you have control. There is something about having control of a property and deciding when I want to sell it, when I want to refi it, what work I want to have done. And again, we're kind of at the beck and call to make sure that's handled. The reason, again, why we went to the new construction model, Vinki, most of our investors are very busy, successful professionals. They own businesses. They're out of area. They want the Florida fundamentals, but can't be here. So we had to really design a system, and we really fine-tuned it over the last decade, where we don't want you having to really focus on your portfolio more than an hour, maybe two a month. Sometimes it can be 5-10 minutes for the month. You've gotten your wire, there's nothing there on your portfolio statement, happy days. But we like to slate about 1 to 2 hours and no more, because most people, they're not looking for a second or third job. They're looking for that to lay onto our system, onto our shoulders, but to benefit from ownership. And I don't know about you, but I've made the most money in the world of my investing career by the properties I have personally owned.
So you own yourself. Yeah, because the thing is, some people like that model better because they feel like they're in control or they're in charge. And I do see that you also deeply focus on the family and intentional living, like I was reading in your bio. So how has this real estate or BTR in particular helped you support your life cycle? Like you just said, you made a lot of money because doing it yourself. And I'm assuming the people that you are helping who are the buyers of these BTR units, whether it's a quad or single family, whatever, they are creating that passive income stream for themselves too. And plus you're providing them all the PM facilities too. So it's like a less overhead for them. And they are just like putting their money to work to make more money for themselves. So talk about that, please.
Yeah, we have. So the book you see are sitting right behind us, Passive Income Playbook. It was written by my wife and I, and it reached USA Today bestseller. It's not just about me and my wife or my partner or a lot of our property counselors who also invest in team. We have over 140 people on our team that make it happen. There's a lot of case studies in there about some of our investors in our investor network and what it's done for them, the position it's put them in, how they incrementally built it, why they went from old fixer-uppers to new construction. So it's all in there. And real estate, again, it's just got the best leverage. We not only in mortgage, but also leveraging, I think, for growth in the future, for time away if you put the right people in place, and that's our goal. So for me, I was real clear that first real estate seminar in Phoenix, Arizona, 27 years ago, where I said, if I could get this real estate stuff in place, I could get to the good stuff, the important things. And
That's true.
yeah, and I just wanted to be around my family more, Vinki. My parents didn't have money. They didn't, we didn't come from money. I was able to retire them years later, finally, which I'm very grateful for. But they didn't have the funds to spend the time they wanted with us, and I wanted to do it differently. And luckily, I can say, I've joked again with Gene. I spend an obscene amount of time with my family, and I apologize to no one for it. I've earned it over the last 25 years. My real estate has helped. We have a great team in place. I'm still able to work hard on my things, but I spend a lot of time with them. And it's never about the real estate. It's about what the real estate can provide. And sometimes people forget that. We get so into the trenches of the real estate, we forget, oh man, this is supposed to be serving us, not the other way around. And so what I've always tried to keep is my family, my wife, my 5 children, they are my most important investors, clients, key team members, whatever you want to call them. And that's how my Wall Street Journal book started, of saying, what strategies and rhythms did I put into place where my family did not fall out of priority? And so, real estate honestly was one of the biggest hacks. Certain businesses I don't know how they get time with their families. I love a good restaurant. Golly, but some of my restaurant friends, they're working nights, weekends, holidays. It's really hard. I found with owning my own real estate and working with a good real estate investment company that I've helped build, I'm getting the best of all worlds, and I'm helping others do the same.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to ask you about your book a little bit later, but let me go back. You mentioned something really cool. You said you didn't come from the family with money and you built everything yourself. So I want to talk to you a little bit more, dig deeper over here. Want you to find out, how did you break through from that mindset? Because there has to be a huge mindset shift. There might be some money blocks too when you're coming from nothing and getting into something big like this where you are today. It's quite a journey. So take us through that journey. How did that happen? And what was your mindset? And how did you change your mindset to this now, to receiving? You wrote a book even, after that. So I would love to
Yeah.
hear that.
So the mindset shift is the old burning desire. It's the I remember hearing in my hometown, which was affluent and I wasn't affluent, from some of the non-affluent people, hey, money goes to money. That's just the way it is. I hated that. I didn't like it. It didn't make sense to me. And luckily for me, in my early 20s, some friends of my parents, he was in real estate and he sat me down and he gave me 2 books and he said, hey, I think, you've got a chance at a big future, which that's not what was predicted for me at this time. Let me tell you, I was
Mm.
not some shining star. And he said, but you might want to look at real estate and income producing assets. Vinki, I didn't know what the heck that meant. I had no clue. But the 2 books he handed me was Rich Dad, Poor Dad and The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Both
Mhm.
of them forged a burning desire within me. And I was looking at all sorts of business opportunities and franchises and things. And I grew up in North Jersey, near Wall Street. I hated it. I didn't like that lifestyle. It was not for me. And I kept coming back to this real estate and it was very tangible. And the levers seemed to make sense. Hold on, I could buy it for this, put this much into it, but then it's worth this much more than rented. And this covers it. Like it just made sense to me. And and so that's what called back to me. And I think the final thing, Vinki, that really got on is I wanted to have money. We didn't grow up with money. I wanted to have it for the right reasons, I think. And I read that 7 out of 10 millionaires in the US made their money in real estate. And now
That's so
that's
true.
actually up to 8. And so I thought, geez, I like those odds and I enjoy this. I'm going to give my focus to real estate, not a bunch of other business opportunities or franchise or anything. And those are great. I have friends that make great money, but I went into real estate full force and I really haven't looked back.
Great. So share with us your experience with the first deal.
My experience with what? I'm sorry, I coughed.
Your first deal, the first deal that you did.
I always,
That there.
people always say, what is your best real estate class you've ever taken? And I always say that is so easy. It was 432 North M Street, Lompoc, California. It was a
Uh-huh.
3-family house
Uh-huh.
in a probate sale. I still don't even really know how probate sales completely work, to be honest with you. I just, I had read my books and gone to a course and they said, look for these types of numbers, work with this type of realtor, call. I made lots of calls. I found this deal. Don't want her. Old landlord had passed away, not kept good on the property. It was a 3-family house. And I did the classics. I 2 of the units were empty. I fixed those up first. I moved the front tenant into the middle one, fixed that one up. The rents went from $650, I think, to $1,050. I did huge. It reappraised for 70 grand more 4 months after I had bought it and fixed it up. I ended up refining off of that property to start my fix and flips just inland at a little town called Bakersfield, California. That was my piggy bank to start my building. And I finally sold it for about 4.5 times what I bought it for when I moved to Florida to bring money here. But that was it. I hit a home run on my first deal. It wouldn't have retired me, but it gave me a good taste. Because I got to tell you, probably deal 3, 4, 5, 6, they didn't make money. So my first one, 432 North M, it hit a home run.
Yeah, I think I like that when you get the home run in the first deal. After that, your confidence, oh my God, it's just like skyrockets. I mean, that's what happened to me exactly. But if you have to go back and do the same thing over again, because with your experience of 25 years, all this span, you have learned so many things, you have read maybe so many books, interacted with so many people, what would you do differently?
It is a very clear, straightforward, concise answer, and that's coming from an ADD entrepreneur, but I can give you a very straight answer on this.
Mhm.
Own less of better quality.
I
That's
like
it.
that.
Own less of better quality. And for me now, Holy cow, being in this 25 years, I'm 50 now. My risk tolerance is not what it was 20 years ago, nor should it be. I don't think that's healthy. You want to keep some risk, but not what it was. Mine now is own less of better quality with less leverage. That's
I
how
like that. Less stress as well, I mean,
I
like we
stress
said, yeah.
more time with my family. Now I'm saying, okay, can I put 30 or 35% down or 40% down? Or 25 years ago, I'm going, is there a 5% down loan program? And I would take it like that. And sometimes you have to, in certain growth phases, you have to take those risks. Now with me, but even if when I'm looking back, Vinky, he's done over 1,000 rehabs. That sounds so cool, but shame on me. Learn from me. I'm telling you, I could have done less of better quality, have less headaches, more free time. I was just doing deals to do deals. And I did one great deal, but then one bad deal and one medium deal. Well, the good paid for the bad. I'm stuck with a medium one. You see what I mean? I was spinning wheels. So I encourage people, don't put yourself under that pressure that you have to be. And that was big back in my day, the 100 house club. And I was in that times almost 2 of my own portfolio. But if the properties are all losing money, who cares? And what I learned was, again, condense, step it up from a certain level of property in a certain condition to better. And now it's easier to pivot, to move, to gain equity, to ride the markets. It's just own less of better quality. And if you can, do it with less leverage.
Wow, what a great advice. But you gotta do what you gotta do to get somewhere like where you are today, because all those experiences brought you here where you are. And then you can talk, very confidently from that experience and share with others. And thanks for writing the book. Would you like to share with us one small strategy that you shared in your book that stands out for our audience?
With the real estate book or the family book, Vinky?
Uh, Anyone that resonates with you more, because our audience would love to hear that.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about one that's going to help you both on the real estate and on the family side. We coined a phrase at our company called intermittent tech fasting.
Mm-hmm.
So we've all heard of intermittent fasting. It's, helps clear out the body. It's good for
Right.
mental function. And
Mhm.
I believe in tech fasting. So you work hard in your real estate. There used to be this badge of honor. I'm on duty 24/7. Not me. You're not getting me at the dinner table. I'm not picking my phone up and looking at a text thread or an email or a Facebook post when I'm with my family, or when I'm on a date with my wife, which happens every Wednesday from 5:30 to 8:30. You won't be able to get me. And also when you're doing certain real estate, when I'm designing a talk about BTR and where the future is and I'm researching it, I can't be picking up and texting someone. I can't be taking a call. You have to make yourself completely and totally unavailable for the people most important to you and for the deepest work. There's a great book called Deep Work called Cal Newport. And I got really good at that because I wasn't good at it. I realized, oh my gosh, I am a dopamine junkie. Well, let me check this text real quick and this Facebook thing. And it avoids you from being focused on your deepest work, maybe analyzing a deal, maybe finding a new hire, maybe investigating a new market, doing an interview. Could you imagine how awful that would be, Vinky, if I'm picking up my phone? Oh, hold on, let me text
Answer
you.
the call. I know.
Oh, we'd
Yeah.
have a terrible conversation. We wouldn't be focused. So I encourage people to use technology, but don't be afraid to do some fasting. I fast every day around dinner time. You're not getting me. There's 2 hours with my family on date night. When I'm preparing a talk, when I'm on a podcast like this, I'm not trying to answer email and also a phone, answer the phone. I don't think you'd like me very much, Vinky. And we all do that. So I tell people, be aware of your tech usage. I'm not one to say, gosh, I need you to move to a survival ranch in Montana and never touch a laptop or an iPhone again. No, but we got to put it in its place. And again, make it work for us the same way as our real estate, not be slave to it and every little temptation to check it.
Wow, I love that. Seriously, tech intermittent fasting. I really love that because I love that terminology. Because the reason when you move away from tech a little bit, you are just like creating some space for yourself. And that's going to help you with your mindset as well. I would say it over here. I'm going to interject here that if you do that, you're going to put yourself in a place where you can respond versus reacting. Otherwise, you're kind of in the reaction mode all the time, looking at your text message, your email, and boom, 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 answering. But if you don't do that, give some space there, go back and check that your mindset is going to be different, a little bit calm, and you'll be able to better respond to it. So let's talk about the market. What do you think about today's market? It's like such a chaotic time. A lot of people think we are in a recession or we are heading towards a recession, a lot of tariffs there. So what do you see in your crystal ball? And especially for BTR, what do you see how it's going to pan out?
Well, right now we have a ton of noise out there, right? And I'm not saying it's not legitimate, but it is screaming with a megaphone. Tariffs and interest rates. I mean, that's been talk, and it has put real estate through what I would call a mini recession since June of 2022. Rates went up, as you said. A lot of syndicators and bigger groups were sitting on the sideline. Builders couldn't get funding from banks that made sense. Mortgages were too high. And then all this COVID inventory came out about a year and a half ago, meaning everyone finally got their supplies. They finished the same time, threw it on, especially areas like Florida. So that we saw a slowdown in how fast properties were renting up. We also saw a dip in some pricing. The pricing right around the median stayed pretty strong. Some of the higher end stuff in our major markets like Orlando, Tampa, Miami, those took the hit because they went up tremendously. So they had to come down some, and they just were not affordable. So we saw all that happen, Vinki, and we're now in almost mid 2025. And what we are going into now is very interesting. We all know inventory controls emotions. And by all standards, we are going back into, it looks like within the next 3 to 6 months, an inventory shortage in affordable housing, workforce housing. That usually drives rents up and drives values up. And you say, okay, Jim, fine. How do you know this? How can you prove this? Well, we are very involved with the institutional events and groups now. And I remember the end of last year being in San Diego at the IMN, and I was on stage on a panel with some of the larger institution groups. And they said they had about 900 billion on the sideline that they had just started to put to work. So it was really over the last year. We just in the last less than 6 months have had institutional groups come out to and said, hey, we have this piece of property we want you to build for us. It's called fee builds. And we've gathered up about 1,200 unit fee builds in just the last few months. What does that say? That says, the old ocean thing where the big shark is swimming and that little fish just sits there and eats really well. I always watch those big guys because I don't have their money. We do build for them. But they are coming off the sidelines quietly. They had said they had a lot of money. They wanted their buy box to get just right. And now they are placing down hard deposits and hiring us to build them some very, large units. Again, that's going to be behind what we have in this inventory shortage. So if they're taking money off the sidelines and putting it in, that gives me almost all of the proof that I need to know that the market is about to go into another upswing. These guys spend a lot of money on research. They're very diligent with their money. We're seeing them come off. We're seeing rates come down. I believe we're going to see, and again, this is not political, but just my own opinion, that this word tariff that we're seeing, Vinki, is not going to be as popular in 6 months. It's all going to settle out, and we're going to have a better real estate economy because of it. So what I'm seeing right now is we've already been going through kind of a recession of sorts, and we are about to be turning the wheels upward and going in a very nice direction for the next 5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 years. So it's going to clear out all the fog that we are seeing, but it's going to take a little bit time. And I kind of agree with you because I feel the same way too. I know it's a challenging time, but the challenging time brings a lot of opportunities too. So there's always silver lining. You don't want to miss that out. So one last thing I wanted to ask you here, I was going to ask you golden nugget, but I wanted to ask you one piece of advice for somebody who's looking to get into this investing place.
So they want to get into BTR?
Yeah.
Just realize again, you know what, Vinki, if you have people write into you and say, I want a free copy, I'll send you a free e-copy of our book. That's a great starting point because there's a lot of fundamentals you should look at. But basically, don't understand what BTR is. It's not just, oh my gosh, you build a whole neighborhood of 200 houses and it's all rentals. That's not just what it is. Learn what it is. find operators out there that might be working with individual investors and have experience with that and track record, and interview them. Go to the market and visit. I'm a big component, not again, probably only 30% of our investors do, but I always say, get on a plane and go visit a market after you've researched it and do a little due diligence and understand exactly how BTR works.
Thank you so much. And you said it very well. Due diligence is very important. So this brings us to our why rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to answer it in 1 word or 1 sentence only. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so I think a bunch of them you already answered for me without even me asking, but I'm going to ask you anyways. So what is one of the most important things you have learned in your life, and how did your life change after learning it?
One of the most important things I learned in my life is the days are long, the years are short. So I have kids ranging from age 3 to 22 almost. And so, man, just the days are long, the years are short, and just keep that in mind when you're living each day and week.
Great. So share one good book that you would like to recommend to my audience beside Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, no, okay. That's one I'm sure you've heard before. I really enjoy The Alchemist if you're looking for a story form.
Yes, that's a good one. Yes. I have that one. I read a couple times as well. I really like that book.
Me
So
too.
in one word, what does life mean to you?
Connection.
That's a really good one. What is your biggest passion?
My biggest passion would be adventuring and surfing with my family.
Nice, good one. If you could turn back in time and talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself and why?
I would say own less of better quality, and I would say pick partners very, very, very cautiously.
I like that. Pick partners very, very, very carefully, because it's not like a short-term game. When you're finding the partners, you're just marrying that person for 5 years, 10 years, whatever the timeline is. So how can people reach out to you, Jim?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about us and BTR, you can go to jjplaybook.com. That's actually where they can get a free download of our book, and a few pieces of information about who we are, what we do, and how BTR works. So that's a great starting point. You can also go to our website at southernimpressionhomes.com.
Thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate our conversation today.
Thank you. Good to see you, Vinki.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wealth Vibe Show. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget your free gift. Download the Busy Professional's Guide to Real Estate Investing at loombainvest.com. See you next time with another amazing guest and another powerful conversation.